Go.
Super.
Hello and welcome to Spitfire. This is episode 26, season 2. My name is Brice. Joining me here, of course, Chris Tunn, who will, doing various stuff as he sweats himself into oblivion because his wedding's in a couple of weeks. But more importantly,
I forgot about that.
We have the Tactical Rab joining us, YouTuber extraordinaire for Call of Duty Esports. Coming on to discuss this week, how are you, Rab?
Yeah, appreciate it. Not bad at all. Rejuvenated after a holiday to the States for a bit. Yeah, it's been good. Ready to talk to Modern Warfare as usual. Thanks for having me on. Guest continues to get better and better, as I said. Richard Lewis, not bad. Hex, not bad, but back.
It's only up from here. We love to see it.
Kidding.
All right, there's a lot of things to discuss this week, and it's not all like super clear cut. We've had a patch, and so here's the thing with this patch, right?
Have we had?
Here we go.
When this patch came out, I was in a call with a member of staff at a franchise, and I was reading the patch note. I had the patch notes out in front of me. So, what's in the patch notes? What's in the patch notes? So I read through the patch notes. And here's the key aspect of it. If you enjoy esports, if you are a member of the competitive side, RCOG competitive or the Spitfire, the Discord or whatever, there's nothing for you. There's basically nothing. I think Codcaster was the only update for esports in the entire thing, of which here's the thing. I don't think I've actually used Codcaster yet, because normally, obviously, you don't have to drive anymore. I just have to look at it. It used to be, as a member of talent, you'd go on there and you'd scope it out so you were ready for it. Now I haven't even seen it. Genuinely haven't. I think coaches are the biggest users of it, so there's probably about 24 people on the planet who need it.
The only time I've seen it is like Paradox doing tweets when they make a change, and then he'll do, every single time they do an update, he'll be like, "Oh, the sky cam's back, but this was broken in the patch." It seems it's always if there is 2 steps forwards, there's always at least 1 step back. That's how it's.
But other than that, nothing was fixed in this one. Things were broken.
Oh yeah,
things were broken. Although we're saying this right, and if you're watching this live or if you're watching this on the VOD, there was a patch literally a couple of hours ago. I'm guessing it's out there to hot fix a few things, like the fact that on S&D you can see where the bomb carrier is.
Class.
Have you seen that? Have you guys played with that on GB yet?
No, no, I haven't played GB since that came in, because I was like, well, I'm just like at the point of, well, if I'm carrying the bomb, I ain't shooting. Like it only shows up when you shoot, when you've got the bomb. But
fortunately, we're not playing a shooter.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a problem. It's a problem. I don't know how coding works in video games, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know how. But how the fuck does that happen? What? How do you, what did they even change in S&D? I mean, what did they change to? You do one thing, and it's like the butterfly effect. It's like something changes somewhere else.
I'm not as shocked as a lot of people are, and I'll tell you why. No, while I'm not going to sit here and say it's all fine for things to break, I've done a little bit of website coding. I've done obviously editing with about 1,000 tracks, and when you're putting in different VXs and they just go, I don't know why this is doing this anymore. I can see why it happens. If anybody's ever done either of those two things, the video editing, I can't remember the other day, I was doing something with a green screen and I was putting various effects on it, and then all of a sudden it just wouldn't work. The green screen turned off and I couldn't figure out why, and I had to go all the way back and take stuff off, and then eventually it came back. No, I did. None of it's related. It just went, no, you can't do that anymore. Tough. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm guessing that's the same thing with the devs here, right? They went to change something. They clearly didn't change that setting in particular, but something else. It may be something that was already in the game, like that. The fact you can see where the bomb is. It may be something they thought about putting in, but never activated. So the back end code is there, and then they accidentally, click something, and that turned it on by accident. It's probably the same with the mount thing, right? Nobody's ever caught the mount thing that meant you couldn't play S&D because everyone would know when you were planting.
I think that's been fixed now.
I think they have got rid of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but it's mad that these things they seem to be happening more in this game than in any other. I don't want to say that Black Ops 4 didn't have its issues, you know what I mean? But it seems to be happening quite a lot. And I know that they fix them fairly quickly. Don't get me wrong, but it's just I think it's just because it's the franchise, and everything is times by a reaction to it is just multiplied because everyone's like, well, this needs to be pretty much perfect at this point, and it's
I think that's fair, but
issues coming through are just sort of exacerbated because of the whole franchise thing.
There definitely seem to be more issues than like there has been. I just think the degree of like play testing would be. I mean, we always see it in games where they bring in a patch, it breaks some things are fixed maybe, but some things get broken. Like, it would just be nice if there was actually a degree of quality control here, because the amount of times that things come out, like, do you see the clip of the 2v2 gunfight map with the boat just barreling through the middle?
That was hilarious.
I actually love that. I don't know why. That's one of the glitches I like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it, but I mean, imagine if you're playing like a 2v2 gunfight wage or something, and then that's what happens.
Sounds right.
Imagine it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. But I mean, maybe that's something that's difficult to catch play testing, because I mean, what are you going to do? Play every single 2v2 map until you get fair enough. But like the S&D bomb glitch thing, you'd have thought that might have been something that could be able to be caught. I can understand if it isn't, but just some of the things that go wrong, you feel like there could be some more quality control. But I understand that these things happen.
I think with things like that, right? So and I'm gonna usually I play devil's advocate here, but I feel like you two are taking the side of why is this happening. I'm sure a lot of our viewers are as well, right? So here's my understanding of how it works. There is a big QA to pump before the game comes out, and these are people who just spend time and time again trying to break the game in a bug fashion. The problem with patches like this is, like I said before, they didn't change anything around that bomb carrier, right? Didn't change it. There is no way a QA is going to go through and check every aspect of the game in that regard. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, no, that is fair for this,
because they're not looking for the bugs in that place. You don't have an infinite supply of time, because obviously once you've got the patch done, you want to get the patch out. You only have a limited amount of literal physical time to do it, and a limited number of QA testers. It's not going to be one of those things that they can prioritize and look at every single time. So I understand why things like this come out in the patches. Some of them being weird, like I said, some of them might don't. It's not a big problem. They know it's a problem. They know they're going to switch it back. Obviously, we are in a benefit. We're in the off season, right? We're in the off season. It doesn't matter too much.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's that point. I mean, I don't mind things going wrong as long as they're fixed quickly. Like that's okay. It's just these things should not be in the game any more than a couple of days in an ideal world. Like there should be a hot fix in a couple of days that gets rid of this. If there is, fine. But previously, with some issues that have happened, like it hasn't. The mounting thing took at least a week and a bit to fix, I think.
Yeah.
And which I'd like it to be better than that. You say the off-season point, which is kind of fair enough, but I mean, we're a month and a half away, and if all the bugs were gone in the game, then there would still be a load of issues with competitive. Like the pros are talking about the spawns a lot, which is a very good point. And issues like that, which we're not really seem to be getting any closer to fix. I think Parasite did a good tweet today to Ashton Williams saying like, it was actually very respectful, and because I know a lot of the time,
other than 95% of the tweets to it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's 100% the way to do it, right? And we can be as frustrated as we like, but for direct communication, of course, we've got to be as respectful as possible. These guys are just doing their jobs. They're getting forced from the top end to get things on a schedule, which is difficult. But yeah, I think a month and a half to go, we're a month and a half into the game. Is competitive in that much of a better state than it was when the game launched? Like, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think so. Let's change tack here, because I want to talk about season 1 in a minute. But before I talk about season 1, I really want to talk about gunfight. Now, usually a 2v2 mode or a subsection of the game like this wouldn't really become a major factor here on Spitfire or competitive podcasts, but they did integrate something. Which I thought was very, very interesting. The gunfight tournament mode. Now, this is the first time anything like that has ever been put in Call of Duty. They've experimented before. We had the GB integration, which was hit or miss. If you ever played World War II, you'll know that you had to go in and out because you could still pull host in those servers. And sometimes you couldn't connect. But gunfight is... The gunfight tournament thing, I thought, was possibly one of the best things they put in Call of Duty in a long time. And I'll explain why. It's automatic. It is a gateway to pushing people to think in a competitive manner. There are objectives. You are playing to win. There is a prize at the end. It's very, very easy to do. It's just you click on it and then you queue up for the tournament, and then you are in. You ready up per round, and you play till we find a winner. That if this ever goes to a developer, or anybody at Activision, or anybody with any importance in the scene, is the 100% the best and the most effective way we have ever had to bring people into competitive. We need more of that. We need more of that. We need a 5v5 mode for the CDL. We need bigger tournaments for it. We need it publicized. We need people to get ranks off of it. That is going to be worth more than all your fucking marketing department behind COD Esports by itself.
Yep. And it's already got the system integrated into it to make people, just casuals, play it. Because if you get, like, for one, I will point this out, sometimes, things are shit, like the shitty little rewards, but as far as somebody who doesn't really care too much about, like, some of the cosmetics in game, the deagle you got for winning was elite, by the way. So nice. It had a couple of good attachments on it and stuff like that.
Doesn't work in private mode. That's
doesn't. It's a negative, but I get it to a point, because of certain attachments being on it. Did they put attachments on it that aren't in the game or on the gun anyway, or was it just? I'll be honest
with you, I won it and then never used it because it wasn't available in private mode.
Well, I used it anyway because it looked cool. So, like, I think if they're like putting things in that people are going to want, then why wouldn't loads of people play it? I was constantly playing that more than anything, even after I won, because you get quite a lot of XP from it. Even after I won it, I was playing it. So. One thing I will say, as time went on, things got significantly more sweaty, but it was really, really good. Like the possibilities are not endless, but they're to a point of where everybody can sort of see the route they could go down with it. If they don't, it is an injustice that they won't. If they don't use it in the way that we think they could in competitive, they have missed a humongous trick, because it's by far one of the best things it's the best thing they put in this game. Full stop. No questions asked.
I mean, I'm inclined to agree. It's just the question of ranked play, right? We got it in Black Ops 4 in February, like late February, something like that. But at least there was some communication around now, this time last year, especially because everyone was talking, like, this time last year was Vegas, right? Vegas had so many viewers. Scump had like that 100,000 viewer stream when he did the Pro Down, or whatever it was called, the CMG Pro Down. And then after that, everyone was talking, perfect time to drop ranked play. And then I think some of the devs were talking about it in the coming days, like, okay, it's coming soon, start of 2020, they said initially. Okay, this time last year, we had that communication. This time this year, like, where is it, right? And, just looking at the front page when you play the game, it's difficult to find an indication that the developers are in tune with, firstly, the competitive community, but also surely what Activision is looking for here. I don't understand how, okay, they've got all these franchise teams. Surely you want to be trying to push the idea that the game is actually catered for competitive. Now is the time to at least be starting to push that message. I think that someone tweeted at me, there was a picture of they were selling a cosmetic item called like the Huntsman. It's like a character you can kind of buy called the Huntsman on something. And I'm like, okay, surely that's an opportunity to do some sort of activation with the Chicago Huntsman, like get something going there. I feel like that would be a thought process if the developers actually knew what was going on in the franchise league, but it just doesn't seem like there's that connection right now. Which
especially worse, the fact that there's something in the game and it's not connected. It's really shouldn't get to that stage. I don't know. Like, I just think it's such a great activation, and I enjoy play. So if I wasn't playing GBs, because I don't play a lot of publics on this game, I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. I don't play publics.
Why would you?
I occasionally play gunfight with a friend, but I was like, I ran into. So I actually won my deagle playing with a random.
So did I. I struggled more playing with somebody I knew. I don't know if there may be some SBM sort of thing going on there.
I can't see there being SBM in that because it's a tournament, right? Surely you should just beat whoever gets through. Guy actually tweeted me, actually. You said, hey, is that you? I'm like, yeah, let's get this win. So we got the win. But I was just sitting there, like, yeah, I'll just go and do it again. I just enjoy, because everyone knows it's competitive. It's a higher level of play. It's just a great activation. Whether or not it actually gets used fully, because there's so much to do for them. They're doing free content drops as well. So I don't know. We'll get on to season 1 in a minute, but I mean, we're supposed to have a BR. I keep seeing the rumors of a BR coming out, so God knows what's actually happening. I just want to see gunfight expanded, but they didn't. Here's my problem. In all the marketing I saw for it, this gunfight mode was talked about at points, right? But I don't ever remember seeing them talk about it in any larger scale. I don't think I ever saw them ever go, oh, we'll do it 5v5. We'll do it 4v4. 3v3. Although apparently 3v3 gunfight is coming. So
yeah.
That's not CDL, unfortunately. Gunfight is not CDL.
It seems like they put more thought in the gunfight than the competitive aspects of this game. But I mean, I like gunfight though. I think it's really good. But I just think they could take so many of the things they have, like not in gunfight as a game mode, but as in like what they've integrated and use it for competitive. Like it just I mean, I'm not going to sit here and proclaim that. Oh, surely it'd just be easy just to switch it to 5v5 and put a random map in the rule set, but I mean, is it that easy? Like in my head, I don't think it should be that difficult. I don't know. I don't code games, but I think you got the potential there to have something really good competitive wise. If they put like CDL tournament is the name of it, and like you play it and you win a skin or an operator that has like the Huntsman logo on it, or like as you said, like a Huntsman like sort of.
I want to play them in game. I want their faces in game.
That'd be so cool.
Like, yeah, we've got the bomb carrier making red dots when he shoots it. You're laughing. Scump's face.
Yeah, no. I mean,
no. You're laughing like it's a joke. But think about what I'm actually saying.
No,
there are tons of sports games with famous personalities.
Oh no, 100%.
The NFL, NHL, fucking FIFA. They all come out every single year with updated character models of hundreds of players. There is literally no reason I shouldn't be able to run around the map as Scum.
Think about the amount of people that pay money for like the stickers in CS, right? Putting like whatever player stickers on their AKs and all this stuff. Yes, you can't play as the players in CS, but people would pay good money to have like a Scump skin that people could see. 100%. It's just that the way COD works, we have a new game every year. Like that's not something that's ever going to be in consideration until like 9 months in the game, right? Which is what happened in Black Ops 3 when finally the weapon skins came out, like maybe 7-8 months into the game. They were sick, and like I bought like all of them pretty much. But that's only a thought process several months into the game. And with all the things that Modern Warfare is doing with Battle Royale, I don't know to what degree we can expect a lot of updates in the near future. So I wish it was the case, but that's just not how Call of Duty is.
Yeah, I don't usually do this at this point. Sorry to jump in. I don't usually reply to someone in the chat, but the miner says when a new player joins mid-season, it's the same as any of these other games. Same as NBA 2K, same as FIFA, same as NFL. They have massive roster changes. It's not difficult, the photo scanning thing, to get a new player in a game. In those games, I believe you can do the live update for the team rosters as it changes.
What I will say in FIFA, they do have some who have generic characters in there, so it's not every single footballer on the planet as a game.
That's because there's hundreds of those.
Well, no, I know. I'm just prefacing with that, but
there's less than 100 pros, I think.
Yes, yeah. I mean, in terms of priority, I don't think it's like up there with the number one thing. But I get what you're saying to the point of where, well, why not?
But 20 million people play this game. 20 million people play this game. Let's look at the best 100.
To tell you why not is these things could maybe happen if we weren't changing the game every year.
No. This is irrelevant. It's irrelevant. There are new copies of the FIFA games every year.
I know, but they've got the game faces every single year. They don't have to do that much.
It's like a crucial attribute of FIFA.
I think the comparing to FIFA is irrelevant.
I don't think it is.
Because they just have to do that once, and then they sort of update them. That's like a core element of their game. We can't just all be around with blank faces. Whereas,
I want it.
I can't imagine what type of game price I make. Imagine the.
Oh, you want to? All right, let's switch it. I don't know what I was going to cover this, but I'm going to cover this. You want to talk about core features of a game? Let's talk about the servers tick.
Oh,
right. That's
we haven't discussed this, have we?
So any context of anybody listening or watching on the VOD, it's been reputed that Call of Duty has been known for low tick servers for a long time, and it's something pros complain about a little bit. But I actually think this is, if you want to talk about priorities, the fact that this isn't a priority in my mind is mental. And let me give you some context. 64 tick on Counter-Strike is standard and not considered fantastic. Counter-Strike pros, if I remember correctly now, it's almost a prerequisite to play Counter-Strike at a professional level is 128 tick.
Oh yeah, 100%. If you're playing
128 hertz, right?
So this is to do with this, like the frame rate and everything, though, isn't it? Like
it's to do with the reactions from server to player side.
Yeah.
So if I'll try and put this into context so people who don't understand can understand, and I've got to do it quickly because it's very, very complicated, this issue. It is the response time between the game and the servers and what you see as a player. Now, bearing in mind some guns have a rate of fire that can completely mess this up, so it looks like what is called super bullets. And here's a very easy way to see this in game, right? But without all the camera stuff, without anything else. If you shoot somebody clean and you know you're dead onto them and you shoot and you get the hit markers, bang, 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 look how many bullets you used. Because it will never just be the bullets that you shot. You see the 4 hit markers go, it'll be something like, you can be anything up to 12 bullets. Go, oh yeah, I've used a third of a clip on that guy. But you didn't miss. It's because those bullets are already gone, but they don't all impact at the same time. They look like they all impact at once. That's the problem. Right? I think I experimented yesterday, like trying to only use 4 bullets for an M4 kill. It's not as easy as you think, right? It's not as easy. So in CSGO, you want 128 tick. In private matches, it's 12 hertz, which obviously it's lower than public matches because it used to be something like 30, I think, for public matches, going up to 60 would be. People were hoping for 60.
60 would be okay though because we only get like 60 frames per second, so it's like
but like I remember
in my head.
One of the issues it makes is it makes cameraing a lot worse. So in Infinite Warfare, the private matches was 10 at the start before people figured it out, and then they put it up to like 30. But you got a lot of instances where someone would come around a corner, and that was just after one of the ticks happened, and it was like 0.1 seconds until you ever get to see that player on your screen, which makes cameraing awful. And it's the same in this game. And that's one of the major issues. But like, I mean, come on. What to even say? Now it's been discovered. Battle Nonsense, I think, is the guy that looks into these things every year. Now it's been figured out. Maybe they'll do the same thing, right? It was the last Infinity Ward game that had this issue in private matches. Public matches are 68 hertz, which is like, we'd take that. AAA titles, typically 60 hertz is your standard public matches. The fact that we have to deal with this in private matches.
Allow me to buy a server. Well, I think Hex said this. Just allow me to buy a server.
Yeah, just to play scrims on the stuff.
I would have a server and I would let people of the Spitfire community play on it. I would set up, if I could, because obviously we're not on PC. If I could, I would just set up my spare PC as a server right now and just have it next to me and just allow it to be used. Like, I just want the ability to do my own shit. I know it's console and I know it's a closed system, all right? But give me some options, right? My money, I will pay. I don't care. Don't give me a battle pass. Give me a fucking server pass.
And this comes back to, it's the franchise, It's the franchise, And people are playing online for like important stuff as well. You know, when it comes down to LAN, this thing isn't obviously an issue, but when people are playing online for qualification for these LAN events with free travel and like careers on the line, so it's, well, if you'd be dramatic, but how can this be like let slip? Like when it comes to, I don't know, like we could go on about the issues in this game for a long time, and we can talk about the positives. Like, this game for me, I enjoy it, but there's just so many issues clustering right now. And then on top of that, it's the franchising year. Like any year that needs to be like the competitive integrity needs to be at its highest. Full stop. It's this year, and yet they are dropping the ball right now massively. I don't.
I'm pretty sure the 12 hertz like impacts on LAN as well. I can't see why that would be any different. Like if it's the same private match service you're playing on, then.
But I don't. In my head, does it not? I don't know. Like,
dude, we're still playing on P2P, so I don't think this is we're still playing fucking player to player.
It's still not like
point to point. Like it should be private servers.
Top tier esport level, is it? Like that's what we're trying to be.
It just needs a better infrastructure. There needs to be a better infrastructure.
Yeah.
On the back end, but hopefully that will come. Like we're talking about the PS5 dropping soon and all that sort of stuff. So hopefully next year and we've got years to figure out franchising. And franchising will be a priority now down the next few cycles of COD. Yeah. So let's move on to something more positive. Season 1 started yesterday.
I'm in a randy mood, Brice.
Season 1, baby, come on.
Season 1 has started.
I'm hyped.
And I know I said I'm going to be positive, but I'm not going to lie to you. There was a small part of me that died inside when I didn't see a BR. But outside of that, new guns, new maps, Crash is not the same.
New map.
Well, there's technically 2 more gunfight maps and a ground war map. I mean, I'm never going to see the ground war map. So
are they in yet?
Are they not?
I actually
Crash
don't
is
know.
in.
It said they dropped, but are the other
I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't check.
I
haven't played it to know.
No shipment. I know Crash is in. I know it's that's it. That's as far as lots of people complaining about it last night, saying, "Oh yeah, in the new drop, all these new maps are coming." They've actually only released Crash so far, and the other ones aren't out yet.
Oh well, in fact, there's only one multiplayer map that's crashed anyway, and they changed it
slightly. It's not.
Well,
here's that though.
Here's my issue with nostalgia maps. Here's my problem with nostalgia maps. Like, I don't mind an update of visuals. It's cool. The reason a lot of people fell in love with these maps is mechanics of how a map works. And if you change something, even something really stupid as, like 3-tower building, right? The big building, we can go up into the roof. On the second floor, and this is just from playing crapload, I don't even get me started on doors, because you can't see some of the cross stuff now, which is very annoying. There's a point on there where you can look out. If you go onto the second floor where bomb site used to be, you can jump up on the left-hand table and look out through the trellising. And it's a disgusting spot, right? Disgusting, but very, very useful for game battles for S&Ds, right?
Yeah.
And if you played any Modern Warfare, you all know. They have removed the trellising. That's no longer there. It's just solid oak.
I didn't know that, actually.
And I only noticed because I've played that map so much, right? It's one of the things, if you're going for a nostalgia map, your player's going to try and do it. It's like the jump from top sandbags onto the air vent and then climbing onto the roof. Now, I don't know if that was supposed to be intentional, but let's face it, if you've played Call of Duty 4 or Modern Warfare, you've done that jump because why not? Now, I try to do it, and maybe I've got my mechanics wrong, but I just get falling off, right? I like nostalgic maps. I like Crash. Crash isn't a bad map. It just, certain little things of it change, and I'm not a big fan of it. Like, I don't know. It's difficult to explain because I don't want to moan about the fact that Crash is there. But I'm literally excited to play Crash because I'm excited to play Crash.
Yeah, I agree. Like, that's the thing, bringing back old maps. Like, people want them in the game to be the way they were. Like, I understand you could change little things. They added that little courtyard as well. I don't know if you noticed, like, as you come out of one of the spawns, there's another little courtyard with a hop up. The big thing for me is doors, because that just makes the game so frustrating to play. It was hard enough in Modern Warfare Remastered, like Modern Warfare, to stay silent, going around the map, creeping around. Now, if you're up in top 3 building, like, there's nothing you can do. Like, there's so many things about the game, the claymores, etc. Dead silence not being a perk that makes it easier for campers and people to play slow, people to sit in buildings. Then with the addition of doors in every doorway, it just puts that out of control, and it makes it. The thing is with Crowd, like, I was hoping that it's not going to be a 5v5 S&D map. No way. It's not going to be in the competitive rotation. For 5v5, I don't think it's going to work. But I was thinking for Search and Destroy, GBs, 3v3, 4v4.
The GB variant, they've already removed Piccadilly and put Crash in.
Are they actually? Okay.
Yeah,
see, that makes sense. Like, I'm not surprised. But
I could go on a tangent about Piccadilly, how I don't mind it, but continue.
I was just going to say, like, it just makes it frustrating with I didn't even mind it that much, to be honest. It's just it just has so many doors on the map. It just makes Search and Destroy play significantly worse, I think. You can't sneak around. It's already difficult to sneak around as it is. Even if you pop dead silence, you got to smash through 2 doors to try and challenge the guy. Yeah. Oh man,
I think I've opened a door normally once on this game.
You just go for it, mate.
Put it open. They're going to hear me anyway. Kick the thing open.
Just kick it open and try and camera the guy. Like...
I even do the sprint cancel thing to open the door now. You just hit it with a sprint and then just back off. Like, I don't bother opening it normally. I don't know. Crash is interesting. You are right, though. I don't think 5v5 is going to fit it. I don't think CDL is going to fit it because I don't see where it would fit in. Like, the old domination way on it, I don't think it would work. It would be too compressed on Crash. It's not a hardpoint map.
Mm-hmm.
No. It's just too compressed. All of Crash is too compressed for a 5v5 in the CDL, which is disappointing because we want new maps out already.
Domination.
I don't think so. Think about trying to get through some of those gaps against M4s.
I mean,
and one smoke would cut off the entirety of mid map. Like it's it's not
Trophy
built mechanically for this game in 5v5.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I would love Strike to be back, to be honest, because
Strike would be a great map.
Playing Strike in COD 4, that was like, because when I played COD Modern Warfare Remastered, because I didn't play the original COD 4, I'm too young, but like District's good map as well. But it was kind of the time I started to play CS as well. And okay, we're doing this comparison again. But anyway, the Strike was the map that reminded me most of like a proper 5v5 Counter-Strike map with the way the lanes work, the crosses at the start. Like, it was just a great S&D map. And that for 5v5 that's probably the best map for that game that I can see fitting in 5v5, to be honest. I think it could work for other modes as well.
I think there's a few maps. There's a few maps that could work. I think you're right on Strike. I think District is big enough. I think District is just about big enough.
Yeah,
District could work because it's twisty.
Yeah. It's big enough. It long lines of sight. I think District is big enough.
District would work.
I was thinking about Vacant. I don't know if it's
I think it has more
big
of a
enough. Crash was notoriously
Crash.
relatively small though, like anyway on COD 4. So I think there's that.
What else have we got? Crossfire,
but doors, windows. How many of the buildings are they going to
God,
allow
you
you to get
imagine
into?
that with doors, man. Oh my god.
Run through pantry and whatnot.
Like, they're ready to just close it.
Just run through 15 doors. But I mean, there's that. But the thing is, these were all great competitive maps on 4v4, but
they would work. I think
some of them would work. Some of them.
Backlot.
Think about how you got
Too small.
the problem with porting old maps over is you got to think of how new mechanics work. This isn't the first time Crash has come back. It came back in. I want to say, what Modern Warfare did it come back in?
What did you say, Crash?
Yeah, what game? It's been back before, and I thought when it came back, I thought it was terrible because the mechanics didn't work anymore.
I don't know, actually.
It was too many explosions on the map. That's what it was. In COD 4, there was very little explosive used in most games, apart from nades. And obviously, unless you were running 3 times nade, which means you're a scumbag. But I think this one was just explosions everywhere. It
was Ghost.
Ghost. Oh, yeah, terrible for Ghost. Awful.
Did they bring it back in Ghost? I can't remember them playing it on that. Oh, okay.
Whichever game it was, there was too much shit
came back in Modern Warfare 2 in the stimulus package.
It might be that.
No,
whichever game it came back on didn't work. But to put my point, Strike would be very interesting. The problem with even in like Modern Warfare Remastered, Strike on GBs had a few little issues in regards to how you approach bomb sites, because there are a few choke points on that map in regards to where the bombs are. But on this one, with some smokes, it might be okay. You've just got to make sure that you can get into... The problem with any one of these maps is it works fantastically on the games they were made for. Think about on this map, like, take Strike, for instance, and I know I'm painting a lot of pictures tonight to make you imagine it, right?
The cross for the defensive side to get inside
the cross for the defensive side and the cross for the A side, you'd have to smoke it off. Yeah. Anybody gets into the right heady in there, because, you know, Modern Warfare maps especially had a lot of that. Fantastic headies. Get into the right place, you just can't take them down properly. And with it, and now with fucking EOD wasn't in COD 4. You could have Juggernaut, but it wouldn't stop explosion. You could die to a nade, and then you could play tactically around nades to break bomb sites. In this game, you have perks to counter that, meaning that is no longer a viable strategy. So these choke points can become better, or they can become worse, and it will change how a map flows, which is why you will be very, very careful when porting old maps over. Not just for how they play, because nostalgia, people will play it anyway. The Crash 24/7 play this is up. But in competitive, it doesn't always work. Right?
I think that's fair. And they've made a couple of changes with Crash. Like, they moved the B-bomb site. I don't know if the A-bomb site's still in the second floor of the 3-story, or did they move that as well?
I haven't played S&D on it.
Imagine it probably
I haven't played S&D on it either.
But I saw Hutch had a video on his Twitter. They moved the B-bomb. You know, it used to be like at the end of that street behind the truck or whatever that could explode. They've put it on the other side of the broken wall, in that kind of little courtyard area, which is kind of interesting. But I don't know. I don't mind it. It probably makes it more easy for attackers to plant without getting done by that.
Yeah, it is, because the other one was in an open area, so it was hard.
Yeah, exactly. So like changes like that, I don't mind. I don't mind if they look at Strike and be like, okay, in order to smoke this cross, because you used to be able to smoke the cross by chucking it over that like building that was there. Like, what if the smoke trajectory is different in this game? Like, is that smoke still viable? Like, these are things you got to think about porting them out for sure. But at the end of the day, it's less work to play test a map and make sure it's going to work in, you know, an updated game and make some tweaks than it would be to build a brand new map, right? Like, and then that's what they usually do for DLC. So I don't think it's out of the question. I'd like to see it. Okay, yeah, thanks. We'll talk dirty for letting us know.
I don't know. I think realistically for me, 5v5 as well, it changes a lot of how these maps work in competitive. Even thinking about the way Crash works in S&D in Modern Warfare Remastered, like you'd have to probably send 2 triple, like one watching the mid cross and then maybe one keeping an eye on back alley. And that's fine in 4v4 because that allows the attacking team to either make some big pushes across the map. But having that extra person, you can either completely shut off A-bomb or you could completely have 2 into the mid who can rotate to A or back alley. And that just means that any attacking push becomes very, very difficult. And it completely, 5v5 switches that map to a more defensive map because you have the ability to watch more lanes more effectively.
Yeah.
I think that's, yeah.
Go on.
So, but here's the thing. Let's move on from the maps. Let's move on from the maps because that's taken a massive tangent. And we're talking about, you know, games that haven't been around in a long time. And it's only one map. We can only talk about Crash. I want to talk about the new guns.
But we can talk about maps in general and the fact that, you know, I think it would just be better if we were still playing 4v4.
That is obviously the key point.
That's a lot of people think that. But for me, it's play testing, and I don't like speaking about it because as far as I'm concerned, we're never going back. So you can dream. You might as well hope that we're still playing Black Ops 2 at that point. It's the same conversation.
Yeah,
I want to talk about the RAV4 or RAV7.
Haven't used it.
RAV7. I played against it last night. Some of the stats.
The AR or the LMG?
It's an AR that reminds people of the Maddox.
Oh God.
Oh god. I honestly haven't seen like anything on it, so I can't really comment.
Oh, it's the Ram 7. I know I'm calling it the Rav. It's the Ram 7.
The Rav.
Rab 7. Baby.
The Rab
7.
So
from what I see, same damage as an M4. 28, 42 for headshots.
The thing is though, is that the pros just figure out what's the best one and use it. I'm all for variation. Like I quite like to see variation in the weapons that people use in competitive state, but realistically, have they even said if is it allowed in privates yet?
It's allowed in CDL rules on GB.
Is it? Okay. Allowed in CDL variant?
I believe it's banned. Yeah, in CDL variant it's allowed. I believe it's banned on CMG and UMG.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I found it. I played against this Ram 7. I played against last night against some PC players who sucked, by the way.
Oh yeah, I've had a game against PC players on GB.
Terrible.
Not remotely as worried as I should be.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think one of the reasons it's not been talked about a lot yet is because in publics you have to unlock it, and in privates, you're not going to try it for the first time.
Yeah, that's fair.
But from what I saw, it seems all right. It seems like a viable gun. I'm curious to see where it goes in the meta. I mean, it's probably already been GA'd, and none of the pros have used it. So
yeah,
for me, it's more about it's a free gun. It's open and unlocked in privates. Is there any reason why we shouldn't use it?
The thing is, the way the attachment system works in this game makes the weapon variety different because in the past, if you wanted a long-range AR, you would use, I don't know, an M8, or say Black Ops 3 is the best example because of the best variety, partly due to ban and protect, but partly due to great balance. So, like, okay, you want a long-range AR, you use the Shiva, you could even use the ICR, like Octane would use it. If you want a mid-range, you use the M8, you use the Man of War, close range, you use the HVK. There's a lot of different options there. This game, if you want a close-range AR that's fast, you just switch up your M4. You just put 5 attachments on it that make it quicker, that make aimed on sights quicker. You just switch up your attachments to make it a fast-paced gun because at the end of the day, the M4 is the best all-rounder. It's the best like across the board. So you just change the attachments and all of a sudden you've got the best short range, the best mid-range, the best long-range AR. So the attachment variety just replaces weapon variety in this game. So it's like if the Ram 7 is a better all-round AR than the M4, then that's the weapon that's of choice. But if it's not, then the M4 is still going to be used across the board, I think. And that's why you see MP5s, M4s, that's it. Because like if you want a little bit of... Oh yeah, disappeared because why would you use it if you can choose the attachments on the MP5 to make it the best SMG at whatever playstyle you want to have? Like that's just a consequence of the attachment system. I don't know if it's bad, but it's just an observation.
I think the attachment system is interesting because it is giving you the guys of a lot of our choice, and I actually think sometimes it's too much choice. not for us, but like, here's the thing. A lot of times people, I don't know if it's just me, and I suspect many other people listening to this or watching this, and you two especially, haven't used all the attachments.
Oh yeah, no chance.
No, you haven't. You haven't. What we've done is the same as what everybody else has done, and just followed other people.
Yeah, maybe have a little play around, but I'm not using something that no one's using. Like,
exactly.
Not a Clayster. I'll try.
It's too much. It just gets ignored. There's no point. Yeah, if you ignore it, I'm not gonna bother. Not gonna bother using it. But I think it's interesting. I would be very curious to see, in regards to following on the meta, whether or not it even gets a look in, because they should be in this year. DLC map should be in. DLC gun should be in. For the simple reason is unless they are broken or not fit for purpose, they are free because of the pass. They are. We have this season content. They are not locked off behind a paywall this year. That is the absolute critical difference. There is no splitting of the community. There is no gateway. There is nothing to prevent people from getting into it. It should be allowed.
Yeah, 100%. I'd love to see it. Like, that's one of the, I guess we've been kind of pessimistic in this episode, but like the season pass thing that's for free is just fantastic. Like, I don't know if they're subsidizing that, probably are with the franchise money, but like that's just a great thing for Call of Duty on the whole, right?
I don't think the franchise money touches how much they would usually make.
Yeah, well,
no,
I guess.
It doesn't.
Yeah, fair enough. But like, that is a great step, right? And if we can exploit that, then that'd be great. Because usually we split the community with the DLC maps, and it's like, oh, well, you know, in GBs we won't be able to use it. But like this time, that's on the table, as long as we hopefully still get some good maps over the next few months.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Let's move on to an interesting topic. Now, I don't want to cover this too much because, first of all, I'm not a lawyer. And second of all, how do I explain this? So I want player unions. It's a topic that's come up this week. And I've avoided talking about it before because if I ever want to talk about this, I need two people on the guest show. And Rab, you're a fantastic guest. This is no shame on you.
Go on.
But when we're talking legal things about player unions, I have a couple of people in mind. One's a law firm guy, and the other's actually done a union thing.
Should have got him on, mate.
But I don't think chip in.
I'm not saying can't chip in. I'm not saying can't chip in.
But
please bear in mind, right? That if we talk about this, this is a very sensitive topic because it is talking about the power balance within Call of Duty. It is talking about people's livelihoods, jobs, and business. It is not a topic to be taken lightly unless you're a moron on Twitter. Or, by the way, I don't usually do this, but some of you people on COD Competitive need to get your head out your ass. So don't.
That's Rab's fans you're attacking right now.
I don't give a shit.
Attack Rab, attack his fans.
I don't give a shit. Rab, your fans are great, but some of the stuff I saw on player unions on the COD Competitive Reddit and I should point out, right? I was a union man for 8.5 years. I went to a place in Sheffield that has union history in the UK. I went for training there. I was involved in the union in my old workplace. I have some experience with union stuff, okay? Which is probably why I'm a little bit amped up about this. And it's also one of the reasons I don't really want to go into it, because I would just be sitting here lecturing the two of you for an hour.
Yeah, getting us both fired in the process.
Yeah. Here's my and I don't want to cover the specifics of it right now because I've spoken to some players about it in private, and it is more complicated than you can imagine, right? Just to get this stuff set up in the context of it crosses international lines. Obviously, we're a global sort of business. There are only a subsection of people. You've got to remember, unlike the NFL Players Association, there is not, close to 1,000 players. 53 teams, 53 players, fucking 34 teams, and all the ones outside of it. There is only less than 100. There's so many ramifications because it's the Activision own the IP and everything else. It's a very dangerous area of conversation. And people in the Reddit, it irritates me. I am annoyed.
All the time.
I am. Mate, it's annoying me more because there are people in there who clearly have no idea about how being in a union works. If they have been in a union, whether it be, in a shop or whatever, They completely underestimate how the power balance is supposed to work, how things are supposed to be solved. There are procedures and everything. Here's the thing that pissed me off. In in the Reddit, people are basically thinking that this is the only way a union works, and this is why it's just uneducated. They've gone, what are the players going to do? Strike? They think the only two options are accept it or strike. That's it. That's the only thing I think happens with a union, which is quite frankly wrong and just something you just shouldn't even mention. Striking is the absolute very last thing that ever happens in a union. It is the nuclear weapon. It is something you never want to pull. It is something that should never ever happen, right? It is not the first fucking option for a union or collective bargaining in a players' association. And to see people and that's the first thing they come up with about leverage and all this other sort of stuff. No, it's not. It's about having a seat at the table and being involved in the process and protecting players and having someone represent their interests. Because right now, that's not. Here's who has a seat at the table: franchises and Activision. Sit. Not agents. Agents don't have any say. They have contract with the players. But here's the thing. Here's why it's tough for the players. And I know I'm lecturing you, I'll get to it in a second. Here's why it's tough. And like I said before, I have no skin in the game here. I'm not a player, and I'm not on any of these sides. Players are one side of it. Against them, technically, these people do not want them to have a union, as far as I'm concerned. Will be franchises because it affects them. Activision, it affects Activision. It will obviously affect Activision having another. They don't want to have to negotiate with somebody else or not get what they want. And agents, it's the same thing for agents. Agents are on player side to get their money, but they also probably don't want to play as union because they then have to play within another set of rules and there's another voice in the conversation. It's not an easy thing, all right? It genuinely isn't. So when I see people talking about it on Reddit, I'm just irritated from the misinformation and sheer fucking idiocy of these people who are talking about something they know nothing about. And it is a serious thing, right? And that's why I talked about level of maturity on Twitter. It is a very serious road to go down because lawyers will be involved at the first fucking sounding of that bell. Anyway.
You've done well, mate. You've outdone yourself.
I'm just annoyed. I saw it today and it irritated the crap out of me. Anyway, Tunn, do you want to take over for a second?
I think it's something that a lot of people have talked about, and I'm surprised that this hasn't happened yet.
I'm not.
I know, but it just from a perspective of like what the players could gain from it. I'm not just talking about them like getting like better pay or any shit like that. They obviously don't need that, but there's a certain level of like where there needs to be some sort of protection for them. Last year. Playing example of that. Obviously, the franchising comes in, it stops the issue of these rogue organizations doing dodgy shit. But, there still has to be something in there to protect the players to a point because there's people's careers that can be ended instantly. I don't know. I think it's a tough and touchy subject. Clearly, but I think
it's so complicated. It's such a deep subject. Unbelievably complicated, that conversation, and for people to dismiss it on that, like I wanted. If I was going to talk about it at length, it would be. I have a couple of people in mind. One of them's a lawyer I know, and the other is I think Sir Scoots, who did the Counter-Strike one, and that's actually an easier thing because that's not centralized.
To get. Do they have a players union in the Overwatch League?
I don't. They don't. As far as I'm aware, they don't.
Because if they don't there, then like I don't see it happening in COD. Because part of the reason probably why it hasn't happened in COD for a long time is that like that's an incredibly tough thing to organize, like especially between the players. Like it took Scoots and CS to, get it organized right between the players. And on the whole, CS players are older, more mature than a lot of the COD guys. So I can understand why it hasn't happened in COD.
Of course, it hasn't happened.
Players Association.
To think, like, it's obvious. First of all, like, wages have been going up at a crazy rate. We are like at 1,000% of what they were even a couple of years ago. So these players, like, we've got players with, who probably don't deserve it, signing $400,000 a year contracts. They're not going to go, I need more power, me. Oh, no, they're not. They're pissing off and going to buy another Gucci fucking bag or something. Right? They haven't got it in their minds for that. And it's not just about money, right? The union isn't about money. as much as some bullshit fucking Walmart video would like to tell you. It's about so much more, and it's just very difficult. And I don't want to go into it. I just had to get that off my chest because it irritated the crap out of me. And players, like I said, if you ask any player what they want from you, you get 6 different answers, between money to time off to schedule to fucking fixing the game, which is probably something a union wouldn't be able to do fuck all about anyway, because that's not how that works. Mate, it just.
I think one thing to maybe point out, as also at some point members of talent here, did you not see Red Eye tweeting about the whole thing that was going on with Starladder, saying that they hadn't been paying talent, and I think we can have this conversation of surprising there's not like some sort of like talent union across the board for like esports, but then that's what Red Eye pointed out. It was that's hard because it's such a competitive industry in this respect, where it comes in, pay actually comes into it. Like, I couldn't go to somebody and say, I want $2,000 like a day, et cetera, et cetera. I couldn't go crazy, but like, it's a competitive thing. So it's hard to get it in there. But some of the shit that tournament organizers have been pulling on some of those guys, and then we even seen like Jess was tweeting about it, like she hadn't been paid from people and stuff like that. So it's just across the board. I think it's just esports needs unions rather than just COD players.
There are some let's tell you what, let's move away from unions and just talk about that quickly, because otherwise I'm just going to sit here angry, and I don't want to sit here angry. It's just your demeanor. That Reddit thread's irritating me.
You're always sitting there angry.
I love COD competitive, and normally I wouldn't bring up the union thing because it's not even fully in my wheelhouse. That's the biggest problem. I need fucking clarity on a couple of things, and I like I said, I've got no skin in the game, so it's not really on my fucking part for it. But let's move on from player unions and talk a little bit about not being paid in esports, because it has come up, and it's not so much a COD competitive thing. It's just, by the way, questions from the chat after this one. Yes. If you're watching, stick some questions in the chat or tweet us.
If you're not watching the football.
Yeah, if you're not watching the football. Let's talk about not being paid, because it does happen. There is a company in the UK that does esports stuff. And they're kind of like a showy sort of like production. We'll make it all glamoury TV sort of stuff, that I never got paid for doing consulting for them. And I'll be honest with you, it wasn't a ton of money. I chased it a couple of times. I just gave up. I was like, these guys are terrible people. They were like quibbling over some of the way I did stuff and all this sort of stuff. But it does happen. Like I've had payments, big payments in my mind, that were delayed for months and months, and they wanted me to do another month of work. Happens so frequently, and it's disappointing. It is disappointing. I can see why Jess is annoyed. I can see why the Starladder thing has come up. I can see why Red Eye's talking about it. Anders has talked about it. The CSGO's having a big thing with it now. Happens in all things. UMG, I've had run-ins with UMG. That's not been fun. No skin off of them. I'm just not sure we'll ever work together again.
It's happened to everybody, I think. It's happened to everybody. It happened to me this year. I'm not going to get into details, but I was waiting a very, very long time. It's just one of these things, like, I'm lucky enough to have like a full-time job, obviously, with EGL, and then I do my casting on top of it. I could never, I know you do just like sort of casting freelance on your own, Brice. I could never do that from the pure point of constantly chasing and constantly waiting. Like, I've got like a mortgage to pay. Like, these people have lives. Like, this is the thing, is like, and I think, and I'm not going to like sort of discriminate to the point, well, the CS guys are making a shitload of money, they'll be fine. It's still the fact that you're not getting paid this shitload of money. So it's like, well, everybody has bills to pay. Like, it doesn't matter what level you are at. It should be quick. It should be quick. Like, to the point of where I've sort of sat back sometimes and sort of said, I should be charging them before I do these events. But then not many people do that. Like, it's...
Well, here's a funny thing, just to jump in there quickly. In the UK, if you're a freelancer, you're actually covered now under the law.
Yeah.
For interest.
But if you're working for companies in different countries...
If we're waiting for companies in different things. Here's another quick little tidbit for you. The most I've ever been owed in a period of late invoices was over 20 grand. Over 20, and admittedly, part of that was my fault for not chasing as much.
Well, I know what you're like, though. You're
admittedly, right? This was 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
This was 3-4 years ago. and I have a manager now who takes care of that for me. Because that was not great. But like, they don't care. They're not going to pay you. They're not going to pay you if you don't chase them.
That's the thing.
It's better now from major companies.
How competitive the industry is, Like I feel bad for the CS guys, right? Because CS is especially, I mean, talent all across esports, but especially in CS, I feel like if they don't go to an event, like if Henry G or whatever decides, okay, I'll take a break, I'll take this one off. Or I mean, okay, at Henry G's level, it probably doesn't matter so much, but a lot of these guys, if you turn down a couple of events in a row because you actually want to have a life and don't want to be traveling over the world all the time, like, your stock starts going down. And as you say, Tom, like if you start saying, okay, I want to be paid up front, then that drops you down the list on the talent people want to work with, because that's
it has to be said, like
not that, but also being undercut. Fucking hell.
Yeah, but then on top of that, like, I mean, Brice, what could you imagine if we said to them, like, say for instance, they have I'm all paid up with Activision and whatnot, but say that they hadn't paid and we turn around and say to them, well, if you don't pay me, I'm not working your next event. They go, okay. And that would be it. There's like plenty of other time. I think
I've done that once.
I'm sure you have.
I think I have once, and then they paid, and then that's all. But
I'm 90% certain I know what company it's for as well.
Put it in the chat. Really?
Yeah, I think so. It was either that or something else. I was thinking about it afterwards. But it is crazy, man. Like, I did a work just over a month ago for a company. And it's funny, as soon as I did what I was supposed to do, and I can't go into it yet because I don't think it's come out. There's no conversation. There's nothing. Like, I got daily emails about this project, and they were super interested in height, and then we did it, and then there's no conversation afterwards about, oh, by the way, here's the details to get you money or anything.
That always
else.
Seems to disappear down the pipeline for some reason. I don't know why that would be.
You have to chase a lot of people. And it's one of these things. Like, that's why one of the things you've got to be
game, I guess, but
happier that esports is entering this new era of
sure.
Of being more professional. Let's move on though, because the one thing we didn't talk about, because it kind of skipped unnoticed, Mutineers.
There you go.
Mutineers have finally arrived.
Eventually, yeah.
I don't really know why the delay was. Maybe Crone, just because I've seen him in the chat, maybe has more insight on what the delay was. I don't know if it's contractual or people are still coming out of contracts, but because I know the Gen G thing with Morks was like Spacely, and that got released for their contracts a couple of weeks ago. So I thought maybe Morks was released at the same time, which meant, maybe it was that. I don't know. But it took a time, didn't it?
It took a real long time.
Well, I don't know, they who was it? Who's in charge of them at the moment?
Ogre 2, right?
Ogre 2 tweeted an interesting. So if you remember, Rab, you were on the show. You know when we did what I don't consider a very good episode. You remember when we did the rankings?
Because I was there, I guess.
No, you remember when we did the rankings, and like halfway through we realised we didn't really want to judge our fellow people on how good they look.
I don't care, mate. I'll do what you want.
Well, obviously the Mutineers in that one took a battering, right? Because they didn't have a roster.
True.
Yeah, and obviously, like, I don't know whether Ogre 2 was mad or whether he understood the joke. Because that was like a month ago, and we'd already had all the teams.
Yeah, it was.
So I don't know, but they are here now. Like, I don't mind this team: Pristini, Frosty, Caesar Sky, Scott Havoc, Morks, Ricky. I don't mind this team. I think it's a good team. I don't know where we would end up putting them. I think possibly about mid-table at the moment, until we see more.
Mid-table is tough when how many good teams there are.
I think it's something that we could maybe talk about after this is the Deserto power rankings at the preseason. Maybe you could jump in there.
Power rankings.
They had them 11th out of 12. I don't know. I don't want to
talk. Here's the thing. I don't want to talk about the Deserto power rankings because I like Deserto. And their power rankings are bullshit.
I don't know who decided. I know Jacob Hale was the one that wrote.
JK wrote this, I think.
Whoever wrote it has just gone by the. They have edited it now.
Yeah.
And they've actually just put it in big letters. Besides Jerd, because that wasn't in there before. They don't have it in them to win championships because none of them ever have. And I tweeted it, and I went, "I'm like, Jerd is going to kill you," because they've also got one of their subs has also won a championship.
Which is now announced, right?
Yeah, and obviously it got
yes, which is now announced, Brice. Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Like, the problem with this is it's out of context. Like, you can say, "Oh, it's all going."
It's all opinion based, isn't it? At the end of the day,
of course it is. Of course,
I still think like
I don't think
it's crazy outrageous. No, I think from I'd argue against Huntsman first.
Agreed, but like these, at the end of the day, like this has developed a load of interactions, which is kind of
Paris haven't played anybody. Who have Paris played? They're still in Paris.
Wait, DeSoto loving the exposure, Brice.
They've been playing UK teams.
Yeah, exactly. How does that measure them up?
They've been playing the London subs team.
Mm-hmm.
London Academy. So like,
you're making my point.
Well, yeah, I know, but they're supposed to be going really soon, really soon. Because I was my son Zed, and I'm sure they're going in literally the next couple of days. So maybe just sorting things out late. I mean, to be fair, I will say like London weren't scrimming until a few days ago.
Oh yeah,
it's difficult. The only time I would like to see one of these is on the run up to the first event, which we've still got another month to go. And player vote.
Even then, what do you base it on? It's literally just
player votes. Player vote. You vote. You base it on player votes. It's difficult to get those players to talk to you about anything. Trust me, they've got very one-track mind. But I think that is very, very important. When I did my EU power rankings, fucking 3 years ago or something stupid, I knew the only way I could make it correct was either a sort of, and you could probably do it week by week. You could either do it two ways. One would be during the league. You can try to have it figure out, well, they beat those, these beat these, what level of the competitions are, start benchmarking. And then you have these benchmarks that you can put them across. So you can have these like power rankings from week 1 to week 4. Oh, they've played X, Y, and Z, but X, Y, and Z are better here, they're against here. So you can work it out kind of mathematically or have a formula to try and figure out power rankings. You can do complete opinion, which, can be rubbish and gets people all over the place. Or you can have it player vote, because players understand the game in a way we don't. They understand whether a player is good depending on their stats. We understand, how this player has been performing on and off the screen, and we don't always get it. They know how difficult it is that player in a certain position and the work they're doing that doesn't always get picked up on broadcast or in any other ways.
Agreed, yeah. In an ideal world, that would be a nice way to do it. But, the power rankings are just... I don't think it's worth taking them too seriously, especially at this time of year,
No, I can see that.
But the pros get a bit annoyed about all this sort of thing, don't they?
Oh yeah,
I mean, they were annoyed about
us. I guess they're just competitive, so
yeah.
But you're ranked 12. Like,
I was getting tweets a week ago about that ranking thing we did.
That was crazy because I noticed that Optic Gaming Twitter account retweeted it, and I just messaged you straight away, just pissing myself laughing, knowing that your interactions are getting touched. Oh wow!
Let's move on to questions from the chat. Thoughts on Tish possibly leaving URU for a sub spot on Empire, who aren't having a path to pro team. I was going to say play to play. It's path to pro. Honestly, I don't know. Being in the league, I always think it's being better than outside the league. The problem being is that with the path to pro integration this year, nobody's entirely sure about what's the better way to go. Do you try to make sure you get in a path to pro to prove yourself to get onto a roster at another point? Do you just want to be in the leagues to get the exposure and a potential to kind of jump up?
Get a guaranteed salary.
Yeah, I don't know. The player fucking breaks their leg and arm or something and they can't play. Then potentially you can jump into a sub spot. It's not out of the... Although some teams have said they're not going to mess around with it once, which I think we've talked about, Rab, that I think is fucking ludicrous.
Sure. I mean, the issue with this is, with Tish, is like, if he goes to this spot, is like, okay, they have their 5-man roster. Unless an emergency happens, I don't see them making a roster change. I don't see why that would be necessary. I mean, at least from Tommy and Tish as your 2 substitutes. If you're going to make a roster change, then yeah, fine. But like, you're not going to bring in a sub as like a trial, I don't imagine. Tommy will be there as like content, but also he could be good in terms of a coaching role, maybe some strategy stuff. The thing with Tish is, unless you're adding something in terms of, if you're a 2-pack Thug Lord or something and you're like an S&D like god, you understand the game to like a great level of degree as he does. He's made a lot of videos over a couple of years. Fantastic stuff. If the Chicago Huntsmen are getting him, that makes a lot of sense. Obviously, Surge just announced they're getting Teddy Rex. I can understand getting someone in that position who's not going to play in the competitive environment. Like, he's not going to be a substitute that you're going to get in a new team. Maybe you sub him in for Search and Destroy or something, but he's not going to be like a permanent replacement. A guy like Tish, the issue is, okay, he's guaranteed his 50k for the year. But at the end of the year, what if the rest of his teammates have like put on a storm in the path to pro, and those are the guys that are the ones getting picked up to the main rosters? Pentagram and those guys are the ones getting picked up. Tish may have guaranteed himself the 50k for this year, but next year, like, teams are going to be looking at the organizations and, okay, who do we want to pick up as our subs for the second year of COD? Tish might not have had any opportunity to prove himself, right, the whole year, because he's just been sitting on a bench doing, who knows what. If he's even doing something within the Dallas Empire, which is fair enough, the rest of the community isn't going to know. If you're playing Path to Pro, then you actually get some exposure. So that's the balance, right? The 50K guarantee, or the high potential in your career, I think, possibly.
Yeah, no, I can see that, and I agree with you fully there. It's very, very difficult thoughts for Tish.
Yeah,
I don't know.
If you get the offer, it's like, ugh, I don't know.
Yeah, it is difficult because like 50K is 50K, and I think for everyone sort of like in a sense, like maybe outside of London here, you're like, that's a good wage, but it's not a life-changing wage. It's decent. It's decent for a couple of years.
Not moving forward in your career.
Yeah, it's decent for a couple of years. You know what I mean? It's
just tough to prove your worth as well on a team like that. Like,
exactly.
Let's say he analyzes search and destroy super hard, comes up with some strats. Like, you've got Illy, you've got like these guys on your Crim, Clay on your main team. Like, how are you gonna prove to them that
sabotage?
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, it's a very interesting question.
You just crawl into their apartment late at night and hit their hands with hammers. Tish, pro tip for you there. All right, I think it's interesting. I'll see what he chooses, but not. He has to have a two-way contract to pay and play to pro, right?
Yeah, I mean, as Crone says, like the Dallas Empire aren't having a Path to Pro team, and it like the way the contracts work. If you,
I suppose the difference might be is if Tish says, by the way, I need a Path to Pro team before I join. That's the negotiation you go in for.
Yeah, I mean, good luck with that, I guess.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Like, if they decide they don't have the budget, they don't want to make an academy team, then like you can't,
but that's something you can ask. You say, look, I'm going to need it because otherwise I'm going to sit here and I'm just going to hold Crimsix Water all year.
But then they'll just get someone else who doesn't want that. You know what I mean? Like,
but that's the risk he takes. That's the risk, right?
Of course.
Either he gets the sub he wants, or he has to go look for a different sub. And if worse comes to worse, and one of those main rosters is unable to play, that's the negotiation point. You say, well, look, I will be your roster sub because if something happens to Clay, then I'm your man. I will step in and I will give you good performance. That's what he's selling himself on. He's not selling himself on his ability to warm a seat.
If something happens to Clay, what's going to happen to Clay, Brice?
Nothing. I like Clay. I mean, if he comes on the show, I'd like him more. Clay,
we'll get him.
He was supposed to come on about 3 months ago, but we'll let him off. Win a world champion. But I don't know, man. It's busy. Let's move on to this next one. Why do you think developers are being so stubborn and not listening to pros in the community? I think it's down to the fact that they have their own vision for the game.
Yeah.
And developers, they work on the game for 3 years. We see it when it comes out for a year. They have their own mind. And it's happened in multiple games. Developers always want to do something different. There are so many levels between marketing, studio heads, actual developers, multiplayer designers, and then just upper people in the company like Activision and all these other people that are involved. It's 8,000 fingers in this pie, and they're all going, yeah, I want this. So I don't know. I don't think they're sitting in the corner with their fingers in their ears. I just think it's a very complicated process you have to go through to get this shit done. And I wouldn't ever want to be. Think about it. It's $1 billion game every year.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the amount of oversight? It's not just like 8 people going, nah, fuck.
And it's also like, I know we sort of like, myself especially was being pessimistic at the beginning. It's not easy to sort of get these things out, especially.
You're the worst.
Yeah, I'm clearly the worst. I think a lot of people, and we've spoke about this before, are like sort of look at what Epic do with Fortnite, but they run it through their own client, whereas like Infinity Ward have to push it through Sony. Yeah. They have to push it through Microsoft. Then they have to push it through Battle.net, which is they're on. So not so much of an issue there, but it's harder because you've got to get it through the process. It's like a patch will probably be decided to be made or be pushed and finished like 2 or 3 weeks before it actually comes out. Apart from the little minor fixes, which they can push out, like I think when they like. But in terms of actual patches, it does not, like this one that came out like yesterday. It does. It's like a couple of weeks in advance. It's decided.
Yeah.
So I think you've got to look at what we're complaining about now, and like sort of say in a month's time, when the league is starting in a couple of weeks, if things ain't fixed then everyone's going to probably be really panicking. Whereas now, I would sort of just be like, for all I was complaining before, I will sort of say that we sort of Well, at least I understand it. So it does take time for this to come through, but I think everyone needs to understand that it does take time for these things to happen. Hopefully they are in the process of making the fixes that everybody wants. But in my head, they'll make some of the fixes people want, but will not make some of them that everybody wants. So
that's like the everybody point there, like, because when I don't know who it was, but they said, like, we're not changing the minimap. We like the way it is. We're not bringing it back to normal. And I mean, in terms of the casual community, there's a large portion of the people that play the game which are like, yeah, we're fine with that, because the game is not designed for the competitive player, which makes sense given the context of why they're developing the game. That's how you make the most money, by catering to these players. I don't think that's necessarily a strategy that works long term, but that's the business model they're going with. And I just think the reason why the developers I guess they're seeing as stubborn is because in the grand scheme of things, in terms of the actual amount of money that we generate by buying the game, we're not a big deal in terms of the competitive community. What I don't really get is why Activision don't seem to be down these guys' throats, I guess, is the interesting part of it to me. I understand why there's not too much focus on competitive. If it wasn't a franchise year, right? But given it is, you'd have thought that'd have been more of a focus. And maybe that'll happen over the next couple of months. I don't know, but those are just some comments.
Yeah.
We could also go back to Talk Real Dirty's question, because that was asked a while ago, and that maybe skipped.
Let's have a look.
He asked about.
Do you guys agree with Artcloth Peak being in the rotation?
Yes.
I don't mind it, to be honest.
Sort of. Here's the issue with Artcloth Peak.
I think it's one of the better maps.
I'll tell you. Here's the issue. It's something I discussed with a pro. I literally discussed this with a pro 2 days ago. It might even been last night. I have to double check. Anyway, not relevant. Artcloth Peak. S&D, I actually quite like. The Hardpoint has a problem that a few maps on this game also have the problem of being unable to get anywhere near a hill if you lose the rotation. Or if you start on that side. Take Artclove is P2 on Artclove.
I'm thinking
if you start the wrong side or don't instantly try to flip.
There's P4 or 5 at the other side of the map as well.
Yeah, I mean that's a little bit easier. There's a few routes to that one, but P2 is notorious for it because the enemy team will spawn behind it constantly. You can't really flank it. Basically, you have to salt the earth and kill everybody, and then salt and burn the earth and hope they don't spawn there still. It's almost impossible to break. It's genuinely almost impossible to break. In no GBs have I been into have I ever been able to either break it or be broken on it.
I tell you what I think is actually a really good hardpoint map. Gunrunner.
Gunrunner is a great hardpoint map.
It's a very good hardpoint map.
It's actually a good map.
It's just a good map. That is the best map by far, by the way. It's a good S&D map. Haven't played out in Domination, but it's a good... Is it even in Domination?
I played it on
I think it is.
Yeah, because the Dom's in B. The Dom's in B. In Cole, sorry.
The Dom's in
B. B Dom is in Cole.
Under the red train.
We played a GB the other day against PC players who were 11-0, so it was pretty sweaty. But Domination on Ramaza.
Ramaza's difficult because it's so easy to sit in corners in bottom mid.
It's difficult, yeah. And it's one of them where it's like, you know what actually I don't mind about Domination? They're having to clear your flag. I think that does. I seen somebody in the chat talking about the fact that you have to neutral it, and if you don't, it stays at the same point. I think for at least a certain amount of time. I actually don't mind that because then at least you're forced to have to move to jump on it if somebody else does jump on it. It does sort of start that chain reaction of moving so you can engage, etc., etc. So that wasn't too bad. But Gunrunner Hardpoint is awesome. Really big fan. The rotations to P2 matter, but it's not impossible to break. Then there's some of the other ones, which is a bit of scrappy hills, especially is it P4? That's super scrappy, but then there's the ones, it matters about getting these spawn rotations, but they're not impossible to break either. It's a good map. It's a solid map, but it just, we need more of them.
Yeah, I think I saw a recommendation for Artclove, if you just cut off quite a lot of the map, it would play way better. There's so much of that map which is so useless that is only ever used in the 10v10, whatever it's played on. That's the only time you ever see parts of the map, the massive field over to one side. That's not necessary. The massive the building at the back, which just seems like I don't know why it's there. You spawned way in front of it in Search and Destroy. There's absolutely no reason there should be a massive building behind you. Like, if you cut the map, if you cut some decent portions off the map, it probably would make the map play better. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think it should stay in rotation for Search. I think it's actually one of the better Search maps. Has some interesting spots that you can go in.
Both sites are feasible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, fair enough. I think that wraps up this show quite nicely. Any last thoughts from you, Rab?
Yeah, not really. I'm just trying to stay optimistic, right? It's been difficult. Hasn't been too much happening lately. Florida Mutineers just announced that got all the stuff for the season out of the way. Still a couple more announcements to go on, like substitutes and stuff. The Tish thing that's been rumored today. But yeah, hopefully this time next month we can have a conversation and we can be like, okay, they've fixed all the things we've been asking for. They've shown a keen eye to fixing spawns and some of the other issues. Maybe they've even made some progress there. That's the kind of thing we want to see a month from now when we're 3 weeks out from the league starting. But as of now, there's still time. Yeah,
that's fair enough. Tunn?
I'm sort of the same opinion on the state of the game. As far as Spitfire goes, last week's episode, a lot of you watched. Thank you very much. I think we hit like 8k views on that one, so shout out to you guys for all the support. Love to see that. Hopefully a lot of you have watched this one as well. As far as it goes, though, if anybody's in the chat and you did miss anything, of course, it does go up on YouTube. If anybody on YouTube, at this point, you don't need to listen on Spotify or Apple, but the links are there if you do want to download and whatnot and listen if you didn't catch it all. Other than that, we're approaching our 50th. Next week will be episode 49. But then episode number 50 would, as said, be on my wedding day. So that will not be happening because me and Brice obviously I'm at my wedding and I have some reason invited Brice. So episode number 50
live stream.
No, I'm yet to figure out when we're going to do it. Because I was speaking to Hex and he was like, "Well, just record it," and I was like, "No, because it's 50. It's to be special. We have to do something for it." So
it's pretty obvious, like.
It's not. Wedding.
We're not streaming the wedding. We're not streaming the wedding, pal.
It would be memorable, though.
I mean, if Brice ends up streaming the wedding, I am not of the physical stature to stop him. But at the same time, I'd appreciate it if you didn't, Brice. But other than that, if we could all subscribe to the YouTube, please. We're going to be putting out some new social stuff in terms of like a specific Spitfire social and whatnot. We're going to be doing giveaways for the 50th and whatnot too, hopefully. So yeah, cool stuff coming, hopefully.
All right, I don't have an awful lot to add to that. I mean, it is coming up to our 50th, and if anybody wants to jump in and help us figure out what on earth we're going to do, please. But thank you so much for watching, and of course, I've been looking at the comments on YouTube again. You guys are great. Lots of positive comments about Hex last week, actually.
Somebody said I was good looking as well, which is always great.
What's happened there?
Of course you saw that one.
I liked it.
So aside from Tunn being pretentious, make sure you catch us on Spotify and everything. And of course, we are on all the Twitters if you want to see it. Make sure you go follow TacticalRab on Twitter and on his YouTube for Call of Duty content. Not a lot of people do regular content like him, so make sure you check that out. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.